Hello and welcome to Remarkable Questions Real Estate Investors Ask. My name is James A. Register and I am the General Manager here at Stop Buying Empty Houses. After today's class, you should know how to launch your very own rent-to-own deals. Today's rapidly changing real estate climate demands creative investing strategies. And by the way, rent-to-own homes are in high demand. I know you're asking yourself an all-important question: why should I invest in rent-to-own homes? Well, when you invest in rent-to-own homes, you give families the opportunity to live a single-family lifestyle today without committing to a home loan right away. You give them time to save up for a higher down payment, clear up some minor credit issues, and of course, get familiar with the new neighborhood. As an investor, you get the opportunity to earn income up front with rents. And because these families moved into the properties have an end desire to own the property someday. So quite naturally, they're going to take better care of their home than quote unquote traditional tenants would. And then of course, you generate a handsome profit when the home sells, whenever the time is right. Here at Stop Buying Empty Houses, we're leading the way, busy professionals buy real estate in the 21st century. We like talking to mom and pop investors, busy professionals, personal real estate investors. In today's class, you will learn some new real estate investing secrets, some new investing strategies, and of course, at the conclusion of today's class, we want you to send us any of your very own rent-to-own questions. Maybe you have some questions about today's training. Maybe you have some questions about the rent-to-own strategy, the rent now and buy later strategy. And I promise you, you will learn a lot today. So please pause, get out your pen and your paper, take notes, review the class as often as you like, and create your very own rent-to-own deals. There's no such reality as one size fits all. Of course, remember to send your question directly to us at stopbuyingemptyhouses.com. So, what's the challenge today? It is almost impossible for individual investors, better known as mom and pop investors, business professionals if you would, to make any profits in today's rapidly changing real estate climate. So what's the solution? Well, there's several solutions, but here at Stop Buying Empty Houses, partnerships come to mind. Rent to own plus partners, which serve as equity participation. They participate in the deal. Our partners lend money on the property. They are passive, 100% passive. As a real estate investor, you generate the monthly rent payments. They receive a set fixed interest rate, and they get the opportunity to share in the overall profits of the deal when the home sells. And trust me, when it's done right, it works. Real estate is a safe and secure investment. Why? Because it's tangible. And it also offers double-digit returns. Before we begin, of course, you know we have to offer our legal disclaimer. The strategies mentioned in our presentation are for informational purposes only. Perform your own due diligence. We are not here for any actions you take from our presentations. Consult your own legal, financial, and tax professionals. When smart real estate investors shake hands with smart private lenders, smart deals close fast. So what is a smart deal with equity share partnerships? Well, EDGE represents Pacific, 3-bedroom, 1.5, 2-bath home, 2-car garage, single family home. Measurable, predictable income, predictable purchase price, predictable sales price, timelines. Okay, achievable. Is it realistic? Does this offer make sense? Does the numbers pencil out? And then, of course, realistic. How much would this house sell for in this neighborhood Who can afford to buy this house at this price in this neighborhood? And then, of course, time-based. What does that mean? In our situation, we're going to buy it, lease it, and sell it sometimes within the first 12, 18, or 24 months. So I know you're asking yourself an all-important question. You hear me say throughout the presentation, all important. When two or more parties agree to share an equity of a home project when the home sells, this is equity participation. Equity participation is better known, shall I say best known, in the fix and flip area with fix and flip investors. We discovered equity participation works with rent to own deals as well. Buy it, lease it, sell it. I know you're asking yourself this question. Why would anybody, or should I say, why would anyone invest with me on my first deal? If you're launching your first deal, here's the plain, simple truth. If you do not if you do not keep up your end of the bargain and you fail to pay your private lender, the property will. So you want to make sure that you run your numbers again and again and again, and you want to make sure it's a realistic offer. You don't want to put yourself in a position where you jeopardize your property. You jeopardize the deal. You jeopardize your private lender's money. So you always want to buy with equity. Now, let's look at our top 4 remarkable questions real estate investors ask. Question number 1, should I rent to own or rent to buy? I know you're thinking, well, what is rent to buy? We'll learn that in just a few moments. Which one comes first, the homes or the families? We'll talk about that. Is this home a rent now, sell, later deal? Running your numbers. You get opportunity to meet Sam. How do I fund my deals? Equity partnerships. And we'll explain to you exactly what equity partnerships are. Should I rent to own or rent to buy? With rent to own properties, basically speaking traditionally, as a real estate investor, you often deserving families the opportunity to buy the home in the near future at a set date on a set price, and you accept an option fee and in some cases a lower down payment. The option fees and the lower down payment may or may not be refundable. Generally speaking, they are not refundable. And because when you enter into a rent to own agreement, and trust me, rent to own works very well if it's structured correctly. That means handled by a local real estate attorney, and both sides win. No one's going to tell you this, so I'm going to tell you. It changes the relationship from landlord-tenant to owner-seller. Those are 2 different ball games. And when you're doing an owner-seller relationship, generally speaking, in most states, a foreclosure is required to pay a non-paying tenant. The question that we raise is rent to own a form of owner financing? Yes, it is. So rent to own does work very well if it's structured right. But bear in mind, in most cases, you will need to conduct a foreclosure to evict a non-paying tenant. Key, always learn your local landlord laws and tenant rights where you are buying your properties. Rent to buy says we do not accept any option fees, and we do not want a lower down payment, because we're not leasing with the option to buy. We're leasing with the opportunity to buy. We're going to lease the home to deserving families for 12, 18, or 24 months. And of course, we can always consider month to month as well. In this situation, this is a standard lease agreement. And what makes it different from rent to own is that it gives the families the opportunity to make a serious offer on the property sometimes in the near future. This is not what traditional landlords do. We're buying to sell. We're not buying to keep forever. We're buying to sell within the first 12, 18, or 24 months. And because we're going to qualify our families quite naturally, right? We do a background check, so forth and so on. And we want to make sure that they have a genuine desire to buy the property. This is a must. You want to make sure that your family have a genuine desire to purchase the property. Which comes first, the homes or the families? Both strategies work very well. When you're dealing with the home first approach, you always want to buy ready-to-move-in homes below the asking price. A lot of times, depending on who you are and the quality of your teams and your experience, you may want to buy a property that needs major repairs. All right? So if they need major repairs, it's called a rehab. If they need minor repairs, it's called renovations. So if you buy a value-added property, you bring it up to code, and you look at what it'll sell for when the project is complete, you stand opportunity to make more profit than you would otherwise. But that's not necessarily always the case. Those are simply choices. You want to lease and sell a home to deserving families that want to live a single-family lifestyle today. They may or may not have any issue. They're simply not ready to commit to a home loan right away. They may be new to the neighborhood. They may have got a greater job opportunity, and they need to move their families to the new area. May they need time to improve their credit. May they do need time to raise money for a high down payment. You get the picture. But remember this, when you're buying home first properties, when you're using the home first approach, you always want to buy almost ready to move in homes. Now let's talk about the families first. When you're working with your families first, there are always motivated sellers too much coffee. There are always motivated sellers in every market. So you want to build a relationship with the local real estate professional, the local real estate talent. Why? Because they know where the motivated sellers are. Now, in this situation, in the family first approach, you want to buy ready-to-move-in homes below the asking price. Why? Because motivated sellers need to sell their properties. Non-motivated sellers want to sell their properties. That's very, very important. Question number 3. Is this home we rent now, sell later, deal? I want to give you the opportunity to meet Sam. Sam represents search, analyze, make offers, and manage the property manager. Search. Do not make the fatal mistake that new investors make. The first mistake that new investors make, they do not do their homework. They do not learn their local market. Research your local market. Talk to local real estate investors. Talk to business people. Talk to other real estate professionals. Talk to wholesalers. Go to the website of the city and see if they have any new projects coming to town. Ask around. Join local real estate investment association. We'll talk about more about that a little bit later. Get to learn your local market. Is there any new businesses coming to town? And most importantly, watch the medium price ranges properties selling in this area. Never pay above the medium. Okay, A, analyze. Get familiar with real estate software. Learn how it works. There are tons of software out there. Find you one that works with you. Find you one that you can understand quite, that meets your needs. You want to find a real estate investing software that you can understand. Every real estate investing software is not for everybody. Do your homework. You want to run your numbers. You want to make sure that your numbers make sense, dollars and cents. Then, of course, you want it to be realistic. Now it comes to making offers. Make realistic offers. Never overpay for a property. And never pay the asking price. Remember, motivated sellers need to sell their homes. Non-motivated sellers want to sell their homes. And then, of course, when you are managing the property manager, you ask what if questions. What happens if one of the children break the windows? How do you handle that? What's your process? What's your standard operating procedure for going to the property, getting the estimate, and fixing the window? Do you charge for every visit to the property? What happens if the family do not keep the lawn mowed in a timely fashion? Do you mow the lawn? Is that a part of your service? What do you do? What is your process? Ask what if questions. Do I need to provide you with an upfront deposit? So you won't call me every time an issue comes up with the tenants? How do you handle that? And what if the tenants are late? How do you handle that? Always ask what if questions. When you are working with real estate is not a solo game. Real estate is the people's first business. So you want to build teams. You want to build your project around your teams based on their experience. Number one, you always want to work with real estate agents and or brokers. Why? Because this is where your local talent is. They know the market better than yourself. They can guide you in the right direction, especially when you're working with investor-friendly professionals. You can always hire virtual assistants, VA services. These are professionals, some local, some out of state, some out of country. They already have a program in place. They know how to find motivated sellers. They know what questions to ask motivated sellers. And generally speaking, they are very affordable. They do all the heavy lifting for you. Key, they know where the motivated sellers are and how to qualify them. You can also work with local contractors. Why? Because local contractors contract the property and they'll sign the contracts over to you. They also do a lot of the heavy lifting. And then, of course, you want to network. You want to network with local real estate investors. Join local real estate investing associations. Join business groups. Join business clubs. Attend nonprofit events and get familiar with local business and real estate professionals. Why? Because number one, they know the area better than yourself, right? And of course, they can always look at your performance. These are the reports that you generated from your software, and they can help you sort of guide your way through a realistic offer. And they can help you. You may have missed something in your report, and then of course they can help you adjust it as well. Question number 4. How do I fund my deals? I love it. This is the juicy part. How do I fund my deals? Well, you want to work with private lenders. There's several different ways to do it. But in today's class, we're going to talk about private lenders. When you're working with an individual investor, partnership is one of the greatest opportunities in America. A whole lot of different businesses all across the country are built on partnerships. Great real estate deals are built on partnerships. Not necessarily joint ventures, but well-intended partners, like-minded partners. Private lenders. These are our partners. We'll talk a little bit about that later, a little bit in today's presentation as well. When you're working with an individual, you always want to give them the greatest opportunity to exit the property if they need to. So we understand life happens. So if your lender needs to exit early, you want to provide them with some resources. Now remember, whenever you're doing your real estate projects, make sure that your contracts are drafted or at least reviewed by your real estate attorney. This is very important. A lot of real estate investors lost their shirts because they found contracts on the internet that wasn't applicable to their state rules and regulations. They weren't applicable to the landlord laws and the tenant rights. So make sure you're working with a local real estate attorney, not an attorney, a real estate attorney. If your lender needs to exit the property early, you will ask them to provide you with a 60-day or 90-day, depending, written notice to exit the deal. You want it in writing. And then, of course, they forfeit the exit position when they leave the deal. Why? Because they didn't keep up their end of the bargain. Life happens. And if you help your private lender exit the deal, they will come back. And not only that, they'll share the good news about you working with them as a private partner, as a not necessarily private partner, as a real estate, too much coffee. They would talk about you. They'll make some smart remarks about how well you handle their situations, and they will refer you. And then, of course, if you owe your private lenders any interest up to the date they submit the exit date, you want to make sure they get their interest. Now, number two, the last thing you want is to enter into a foreclosure. You do not want to entertain a potential foreclosure. You want to work around it. Why? Because private lenders will not walk away from foreclosures if they see foreclosure in your history. Sometimes they don't check your history, but a lot of times they do. And if you have a history of conducting foreclosures, they won't walk away. They will run. So you want to make sure you put yourself in a position that you do not have to go through a foreclosure. So how do you do that? Well, you go into what is known as a quit claim clause in your paperwork. And the quit claim clause says, okay, I'm behind 6 months, 5 months, 4 months. The property is vacant too much. There's not we underestimated the rents. We underestimated repairs. Okay, whatever the case may be, but we're in trouble for whatever reason, and I cannot keep up my end of the bargain. I'm behind in payments. So there's several different ways to handle this. You can sell the property early, right? Or you can just surrender the home to the private lender without the private lender filing for a foreclosure. You want to talk this over with your private lender before they sign any paperwork. You want to talk this over with your attorney so they can put it in writing. But a quick claim deed is a great tool you can use in your real estate business. I know you learned a lot today. And I know I'm talking fast. That's why I want you to come back and review the class. No one is teaching this. No one is teaching you what I'm teaching you today. That's why it's so important for you to take notes and come back and review the class. Now, also we know that life happens. Things happen. So in the event of a lawsuit or a death or whatever the case may be, you want to make sure that your investment is protected. Okay? So you want to make sure that each home has its own entity and bank account. Discuss this with your real estate attorney. Each property may have its own LLC. So if anything was to happen, there are restrictions on any actions taken against you. Okay, and then of course, want to talk about the lender-borrower relationship. What we do here is teaching you today is about your private lender being your bank, and you paying your money back to your private lender with a annualized or fixed interest rate, preferably fixed. And of course, for example, you say we're going to pay you instead of 6% or 8% over the next 12, 18 to 24 months, we're going to pay you, let's say, 4%. That's comparable to CD rates. And we're going to give you 40% of the equity when the home sells. Remember, you borrowed, well, I haven't gotten to that yet, but anyway, you borrowed to say 75% of after repair value, provided you need 100% funding. That gives you 25% equity position. And then, of course, you're going to sell the property for more than you bought it for. For example, say you bought a $200,000 home, right? Let's say $150,000. That is all in, closing costs, holding costs, any repair costs, all in. And you sold that property for $200,000 and let's say $20,000. So between $25,000 and you have $45,000 in equity. That's a sweet deal. As a real estate investor, you generated income for the last 12, 18, or 24 months. And then, of course, when you sell a property, you want to make sure that your private lender receives double-digit returns and will receive more than they would otherwise. Work this out with your private lender, okay? And in all things that you do, you always want to make sure at closing, your private lender gets paid first. So what's the formula? We just touched on this. You want to borrow up to 75% of the house repair value. You want to share the equity when the home sells, 40%, maybe up to 50% or more, depending on what you need. You want to be open to paying a nominal interest rate, fixed or annualized, dependent. You'll learn that. That's why we ask. We get the link to ask this question. Ask to stop buying them the house, and we can talk about it. You can offer to pay the interest rate quarterly, semi-annually, every 6 months, or the greatest opportunity would be to defer the interest rate. This way you could generate a greater cash flow, and it's built into the property. It's built into the deal. It's called deferred. You agree to pay the interest rate along with the equity share when the home sells. Awesome, right? Nothing hard about this. Isn't it wonderful? There's nothing hard about this. It's simple. Now, in some cases, right, you may not need the total project funded, right? But maybe you need the repairs and the closing costs. In other cases, maybe you just need the property purchase and the closing costs. You may bring some of your own funds to the table. The more money you bring to the table, the less money you will need. And the less money you will need, the more money you'll make. This is just awesome. Equity participation. I want you to be creative. You have to make some decisions. And of course, you want to think about what you need to decide on. You decide. Are you going to work with 3 bedrooms or 1.5 baths? Or are you going to work with 3 bedrooms and 2 baths? Learn your market. Are you looking at 2-car garages, 2-car carports, or both? Are you looking at ready-to-move-in homes? Are you looking at homes that need cosmetic repairs, which is renovations? Or, of course, are you looking at homes that need major repairs, which are rehabs? You decide. Then, of course, you can always buy properties in a homeowners association. Get familiar with the covenant. Talk with the real estate, the homeowners associations appointees. See what they will allow and what they won't allow. Are you going to work with condos, townhouses? Are you willing to buy properties in a flood zone? That's a question you have to ask. And then, of course, you always want to buy in low crime areas. You decide. Then, of course, you always want to work with motivated sellers. Motivated sellers are where your deals are. Well, I know you're thinking, Jane, where can I find motivated sellers? Well, there's several different ways, and here's just to name a few. Expire listings. If you're working with a real estate agent, whether it's a seller's agent or a buyer's agent, they can pull up expired listings. And they can go out and they can ask the seller, have they considered selling their properties again without putting them on the market. Awesome. Let's talk about it. Then you have divorced couples. Find you a divorce attorney in the area. Generate a relationship. They'll gladly refer you over to some of their couples. Then, of course, you have probate homes. Get familiar with attorneys that specialize in probate. They run across families that have inherited the property and do not have an interest in maintaining the property or keeping the property. That's another great opportunity. And then, of course, there's foreclosures and auctions. Do your homework. Make sure you know what's required at the time of sale. Ride by the property. If the property is posted on the internet, look at it. Maybe you want to hire a real estate agent or a gopher or someone like that to go by and take pictures of the property. Remember, don't let them go in the property. That's forbidden. But they can walk around the property and take pictures. Okay, so that's very, very important. Okay, you decide. And then, of course, you decide, are you going to work with new builds? I love new builds because there's less maintenance issues up front. You can buy pre-construction homes from home builders. You save a ton of money because a lot of times these pre-construction deals haven't even started yet. So give you the opportunity to buy the properties ahead of time and save yourself a ton of money. Turnkey. Turnkey properties are properties that come with property management in most cases. Right? A lot of times these properties are pre-construction. They offer a lot of turnkey companies offer pre-construction deals. Get familiar with turnkey companies and turnkey marketing companies as well. There's a difference. You'll learn the difference. Learn the difference between the actual turnkey company and turnkey marketers. Turnkey marketers introduce you to turnkey companies. Have that discussion. Okay. And a lot of times your turnkey properties come with built-in warranty as well as your direct purchase from home buyers as well. Built-in warranties. How about that? Okay. This just about concludes today's class. I tried to keep you under 40 minutes. So far, I'm doing good. I know you're busy. I'm busy. Everybody's busy. So please take time out, take notes, review the class, and send us your questions. Now, the question I have for you right here is, are you ready to get started? Send us your questions. Connect with us on LinkedIn and Stop Buying Empty Houses. Feel free to direct message me if you would like to. Subscribe to our LinkedIn newsletter. Get familiar with how we think. And then, of course, our newsletter is Real Estate Riches and Niches. Okay. I know what you're thinking. Well, James, I am too busy to create my own deals. Great. You just learned what goes into buying and creating your own rent-to-own deals. But you don't have time. That's fine. Let us do all the heavy lifting. Partner up with us as Home Equity Partners. You become our private lender and you are 100% passive. You are the private lender and we are the real estate investors. Our private lenders receive a set interest rate. And of course, you get the opportunity as a private lender to share in the equity when the home sells. We buy single-family homes, lease single-family homes, sell single-family homes to deserving families, qualified families, which meet our standards, right? Within the first 12, 18, or 24 months. If you'd like to learn more about how our partnerships work, please visit our website, stopbuyingemptyhouses.com, and on the Work With Us page, you'll see a button that sends you to a calendar where you can schedule your initial 15-minute call with our team. This is where we answer your top 3 questions. And we think that we can work together. We think that we are a good fit. We learn we are a good fit. Then we'll continue the onboarding process. No hard feelings if we're not. All right, just please share our content and our website and share what we do with someone else that you think that will be interested. And maybe not interested today. Well, we know you may be interested 6 months down the road, 9 months down the road, 3 months down the road. Please feel free to reschedule your call. Now, in today's call, I want to tell you this. Here at Stop Buying Empty Houses, we're leading the way, busy professionals, by personal real estate in the 21st century. Thank you for taking time out to learn what exactly it is that you can do to make a difference in today's rapidly changing real estate climate as a real estate investor. Real estate investing is not dead for mom and pop investors when it's done right. Learn new, creative real estate strategies. This is the key. People can always need somewhere to live. Always. So the game changes. It rotates. Learn how to rotate with the game. Thank you for learning with us today. And don't forget to send me your questions and schedule your call. I look forward to seeing you. James A. Register signing off.